Hey, this is Luke with Salt Strong. In this video, we're going to be doing a strength test on fluoro versus mono. We have two fluoros. We have the Berkeley Vanish as well as the blue label from Cigar. And then we have Andy mono. So the diameters are matched. The diameters are equal. It's a 15-pound mono versus 20-pound fluoros. They have the same diameter, so that's what we're matching. And so what we have here is we have a test assembly. This is a motorized contraption, so it's going to give the right tension every time. We have a little gadget here to get the exact tension that is breaking. Let me get this thing in pounds. I'll show you how it works. So I already tied the knot, and I'm using the non-slip loop knot. So here's the knot that we're testing. I have it tied to a swivel. I wet it in water before I break every time for exactly 10 seconds. And then over here on this side, I have a tri-lead knot. This knot is stronger than the loop knot, but the loop knot is really for functionality. And so here's how it works. Click that button, it automatically does the tension. I'm gonna block it so it doesn't hit my face. And right now, 5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that was a little over 14 pounds. So what I've been doing is I've already done a bunch of rounds and I've logged them. And so it's really fascinating to see how these breaks are. So I'm testing two things. First, these different lines against each other. And this is for the loop knot because this is the knot that we're tying to our lures. And second, I did half of them where I actually got them wet with saliva before I cinched, and the other half dry. So we're going to test out how they did wet versus dry, and then how the mono versus the fluoro did. And in the abrasion test, if you missed it, I'll put a link down below. The mono crushed the fluorocarbons, which was a shocker. This is much less expensive. These are way more expensive, and the mono crushed it. It wasn't even close. So can it hold up on the strength test as well? We'll see. All right, so the results are in, and here is a look at the test. I did 10 runs for each of them. I did dry, wet, dry, wet. This was the order that I did them. Andy, Vanish, Cigar. The Andy, again, it's a 15-pound Andy, but it's 0.4 millimeters. The Vanish is 20-pound, but it's also, again, 0.4. I really wanted to equalize the diameters. I've done this before when I equalized the rating, and mono wins. Mono wins handily, but again, the diameter is thicker. So this is, I believe, a more fair test. And then the Cigar, again, 20-pound Cigar is 0.405. What I found, we'll just talk about the line, the Andy versus the Vanish versus the Cigar. So overall, the Cigar won. I'll just go ahead and give the straight up results. So it averaged at 15.88 pounds, which is solid. Again, this is a non-slip loop knot. This is used for utility. It gives lures better action, with the con being that it's not going to be quite as strong as a snug knot. But again, it's functionality. This is where the function is important. So that's what we tested it. And so Cigar had the highest average. It had the highest best run on a single thing. And even in its worst one was the best of the worst. So and then Andy was number 2. So Andy came in second at 14.58 pounds. Its best was better than Vanish, and its worst was a little bit better than Vanish as well. And then coming in last was Berkeley Vanish at 13.28 pounds. And so again, its best was not as good as the other two best, and its worst was the worst across the board. And just to put it in perspective, so going from Vanish to Cigar will increase the average knot strength by 20%. So that's what that 20% means. And then this 9%, this is what happens if you go from Andy to Cigar, right? So if you jump up from 15-pound Andy to 20-pound Cigar, you're going to go up 9%. Yes, it is a little bit thicker, but it's only like 1% thicker, a little bit over 1%. And the fact that it's 9% stronger, if strength of pulling strength was your number one factor, then there's an argument for Cigar. I know I personally favor the abrasion resistance. I do a lot of snook fishing, and they have very abrasive mouths. So usually when I'm losing fish, it's from the fish actually rubbing through the line, and that's why I go with Andy, right? Knowing that it's not quite as strong as it could be if I went with Cigar, but it's way less expensive, and it does a better job on the abrasion part. And if you haven't seen that experiment, I'll put a link down below. It won handily. It was eye-opening. And now for the wet versus dry. So here's the details. I put in green where the winners were. And just like prior tests, again, a big surprise, is that wetting the line with saliva actually does more harm than good in most cases. So in this case, the dry run did better for Andy and Vanish, whereas on Seagar, somehow the wet one did better. So it was interesting to see that it flip-flops. So it appears as if that's a situational thing. But so far in doing the wet versus dry tests, the benefit has been in dry's favor, which has been a surprise. That is definitely contrary to what we were taught years ago. And so in total, the overall average favored the dry. So this experiment really held true to the fact that you don't need to be wetting your knots. In some cases, actually in majority of cases, it's doing more harm than good, which has been a big surprise. All right, well, that's it for now. Just wanted to share with you the latest and greatest test. This question's come in about mono versus fluoro, and so this one was specifically on the strength, on the actual knot strength, and it appears that it favors fluoro. So right now, on the abrasion side, heavily favored mono. On the knot strength side, I would say favored, I won't say hugely favored, but definitely favored fluoro. And so the visibility test is coming up next. So when I actually already created a test assembly, I'm going to start getting out, taking underwater, getting in front of different colored bottoms, and aiming down, aiming up, and just really want to get as much footage as possible to try to help make that test as accurate as possible. That's a very difficult thing to test. If you have any questions about this one, please do not hesitate to let us know. Leave a comment down below. Love to hear from you. And if you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we're the best fishing club for inshore saltwater anglers, especially if you're going after redfish, sea trout, snook, or flounder. There's nothing else like it. We actually guarantee you'll be catching more fish while saving time and money. And we do that through our premium education, our exclusive insider community, and huge discounts on all the tackle you need. To learn more, go to saltstrong.com. Otherwise, hope to see you again soon.